So we're firmly into detailing now. I've moved the object on, the model on a little bit, just to show you the kind of things that we're doing. So I'm going into looking at my reference, and I'm adding things like edges here. So I've put a lip around the horns. I've started to put more definition around the eyebrows. I'm going to clean it up and start doing what we call intensive tweaking. I'm going to record it all, and then you can choose with the editing. We can choose whether you want to follow this or not, depending on your skill level. So I'll chunner away as I start matching my reference, and I'll start with the bit more on the chin. Actually, what I'm going to try and avoid doing is making any major changes now. So in terms of things like creating too many triangles, I would avoid that like the plague now. I would try and fix them on the go and not mess up the work that I've done so far. So with the chin, I'm trying to put some definition in now. Quite happy that the edge loops go all the way around, as we showed in an earlier video. So I'm going to split down to the edge here, like so, and the same down here. And then what we'll do is clean it up straight away. And this is where I was showing you earlier, you could use spin edge more, which again, not one I'm a big user of, but you can use it along these points. I'm going to merge those two. Be careful now all the time that we don't start adding in any problems. What we're trying to do now is eliminate problems. I'm going to start using the smooth, like so, and start putting in lots of definition. So we'll pull that lip under, and we'll bring this down to give it the look of a nice rounded chin. I hear my mouse going nuts over the next half hour or so as we start adding all this in. Now we haven't actually put extruded the mouth in yet, and done any serious internal detail in there, so I'll do an extrude now. I'll just do one more, and we can come back to that later. That's given me some kind of mouth area to work with later. Now one thing I will do is just check where the edge loop is, and we want quite a hard defined edge to the lip there, which if we subdivide it and just show you, that just gives us a nice crisper edge to this lip. You can see there it's defined that quite well. Working sub D at the moment. Just keep the volume in that lip. Don't worry too much about inside the mouth, because we do that at another stage. You see the volume, I'm looking for issues where the volume's been lost, like here, and then even areas where the creasing's just gone and we haven't got enough to make the face work. So we'll start tucking those under to give us some nice definition. Certain areas, tweak the nose now. We can afford to start shaping this. Now we know we've got roughly the sort of shape that we want. as I keep saying, this isn't the most natural modelling state for me, modelling in subdivided mode. But it has to be done at some point, or you won't get the best look of the model. Just looking for opportunities to make it more realistic, and more opportunities to match it to the reference. It's done subdivided. You can see the difference in that straight away. It looks a lot messier, but actually what we know is it's going to look better subdivided. Probably will need a split through this cheek here at some point. Let's just see how far a split would go. All the way down, obviously far too far. We wouldn't want it going any further than up here, and any further than, well, under the chin would be fine because we're going to put wrinkles. So actually what we could do is terminate it around here. So we're definitely going to do wrinkles across the head. So I will split it this way. Oops. Split it there. And we'll split it from there all the way through, like so. And what that's given me is the ability not to have a triangle up here. So it's given me a quad there and a quad there, and it's also given me this little area here, which is fine because that is where we're going to start putting in some serious wrinkles in a moment. We'll just do a couple more of them, in fact, which is a great time to do them. So I'm just using Shift and X. I'm too far with that one because it's gone underneath. So I'm going to take it back because we only want it to go to there, really. We only want this one to go to there. Okay, so we'll just get rid of some of those triangles. You can see straight away, so they've all gone on that edge. We ran a few up here, didn't we? Which is the same, so that's all gone. And that's pretty fine there. So I'm going to select every other one. You can either go in or out depending on what you want. And this one will go in, I think. That'll give us the basis for the start of some wrinkles. And we could easily split that even more. I'm looking at my reference and looking where I want muscle definition. When I say muscle definition, I mean this kind of muscle here, not nothing bigger. The eyes now perhaps need to be, we need to start getting a little bit more detail on the eyes. So let's start working by switching soft selection on. It's way too big at the moment, the influence, so as you can see it's bigger than the object. So we could change the settings, or we could just roll in like we are doing. Just changing that size down. And then we're going to just influence it on just around the eye. In fact, there's a few areas I want to use this on, so I'm just going to mess around now, changing the influence as I match the shape to my reference and my thoughts about how I want this to look. So just make sure it's coming out the right place. So everything we do now is just should be making this model more realistic, should be making it closer to the reference, and it shouldn't be damaging the polygons in any way. So it shouldn't be adding triangles, and it shouldn't be messing around with the mesh too much. It just simply is about refining and giving the look and the feel that we want now. Remember, we've got temporary eyes in there, so if needed, if we move everything around, we can move the eyes, no problem with that. But now I'm just trying to get the anatomy as close as I can to my requirements, and as close as I can to realistic on a fantasy creature, which isn't always easy. Now the eye doesn't indent enough there, quite clearly it doesn't. So what we'll do is do some work on that. And I think I'm going to run a split all the way around there. And what that will give me is the ability to go in. I'll just turn soft selection off for a moment and just tuck that eye underneath, like so. Just gives us that lower lid. Bring the eye in closer in the corner there. Now you can see I'm getting more of an eyeball shape. Just moving it to have a look. And back to the other object. I'll turn soft selection back on. And then try and match everything now to a realistic eye. A lot of character in the eyes, so if you want to, if you're looking for mean at this stage, you need to be tweaking until you've got a very mean looking set of eyes slanting the right way. As much as I'm looking for mean in some ways, it's I'm really just wanting the character to match the reference without going far too far with poly count. Now one edge loop that hasn't worked very well for us yet is around here, so it would be better if we change the polygon flow around here, which I'll do shortly. Just making sure this nose is bulbous enough. And then let's bring these eyebrows down a bit more. we'll actually raise that forehead up. And then start building up the muscles at the back. And the look and feel of it from down below now. Let's try and give this chin some definition, make him a bit of a hero chin. So it's starting to look like we want. Starting to get some muscle definition into that neck area. Again, you've always got smooth at this stage should you need. You've always got the option to cut more geometry in if you need. Get hold of that reference, make sure you're looking at your reference. Okay, moving down the horns, I think we're fine. Maybe just extend them out slightly. A little bit of height. Just move the eye a little bit too much then, which I didn't mean to do. Too much influence on it. Let's reduce the influence size. That's looking fine. Back of the horns are looking fine. Okay, so down onto the chest. Let's have another look at this. Took some of these muscles away. Tucking the biceps nicely under. Not lost any definition there, so that's good. Elbows ready for more detail. So just looking for any opportunities for realistic. Let's get these love handles tipping over. Nice bit of volume around there. Okay, a bit more on the arm there. I'm looking for any opportunity to build up volume, or if it's starting to lose volume anywhere, we'll put that back in. Looking for anything that just doesn't fit right with the concept, or doesn't fit right with the overall character and the look of him. Nice, strong, powerful legs. Not worried at all about the genitals because we're not putting any on this mesh anyway, on this model. And we'll probably do the loincloth at some stage to cover him over. And he's give the lad his dignity back. Too much volume on that chest area there. So bring that in a bit. Some good definition around that muscle there, around here. Remember, this isn't too high a polygon count model at the moment, so we're getting some quite good definition in fairly low poly count there. There's one thing we didn't do originally, which we'll just cut in now, which is a belly button. So we pretty much want it here. Turn off soft selection. So just split my mistake then instead of oops. So just being careful not to mess the belly up too much. And just do it by hand, slowly change these polygons around here. These edges, faces, bringing them in ready for a belly button. And that might now need a smooth on it. So if we just select a few of these and try and tighten it off. Huge belly button there. Don't want it quite that big. So we'll just shut him down a little bit. Can be a problem when you've got a seam like that. Sometimes it's better to go and actually make it a full object and just switch mirror on, or symmetry on, should I say. But we're okay for the time being. I think soft selection might be able to help us here just by dragging it out equally or dragging it in equally, depending. Let's just look at it around it again. We're going to drop a cloth just underneath that area, so we might need to adjust it once the cloth's been placed. Okay, so that's another pass of detailing. We will go back over it again, but we're coming to the end of the project now. Another wave of tweaking, some of which I'll show and some that we'll perhaps just show you the results of. But as you can see, we've got quite a clearly well-defined match to our reference document, reference drawing.